Well, welcome to everyone. It's Tom Padula from TomPadulaTV on YouTube and Insegna Booksellers. I am going to make a little announcement tonight in that we're doing Canto 15 of Dante and it's Melbourne time, 7:25 to 8:30. And I thought to myself that I would like to change the time, and I will be doing this next Sunday from 11:25 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. In other words, exactly like my Italian class. And on Thursday, I will also announce for the world history that I'll be doing the same. So that by after Christmas, I'll have all of my presentations done from 11:25 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. in the morning. In other words, in line with my work at Insegna, and that'll be a bit of a change. Nothing changes, of course, in terms of content, but the time will change, and it'll change because you can. You can follow my presentations anytime, really 24/7, because they are there on my Facebook page, and also they will be there on my insegna.com website, and also on my blog, TomPadula.blogspot.com. So just a few changes, for it to be more convenient for me. And, that's basically it. Nothing really changes. And this evening, this time it's evening here in Melbourne. I just want to say that I've been to a dinner dance this afternoon, and I thought I will talk about Christmas because it was quite interesting. And just to give people an idea of what goes on here in Melbourne at Christmas with the Italian clubs, at least one of them that I'll be showing where I went. You meet nice people, a good company, good food, good dancing, good fun. It's Christmas, and after lockdown, it's time to move on again. Let's hope that it can last this way. Canto 15 of Inferno is an interesting one because it's basically about the sodomites. In other words, homosexuality as it is viewed in medieval time, at Dante's time, by the church and by the books, the holy books. Generally, we've moved on since then. There are gay rights there, etc. But at the time, it was, it was seen as a bad thing to do. It was and Dante puts there's a person called Bruno Latini. We will talk about this when we start. So that's where we are at the moment. Now, the other thing, because we are approaching Christmas, and we're in the middle of the Christmas celebration, one of the great images is the nativity scene. The nativity scene we call in Italian il presepio. In English is the crib. And San Francis of Assisi, his name was Giovanni di Pietro di Bernardone, and he became a friar, and he wanted to conduct a mass, not in a big church. He wanted in a sort of a humble place to reflect on how Jesus was born, the baby Jesus was born, and he ended up getting una stalla, and he only had there the donkey and the cow, and there was a place where a baby could be placed, but like when mass is said. So that's what he wanted. He did it it was an unusual thing because, as you know, the church at Christmas, they really quite elaborate places, and in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance especially, and today too, still today. But he wanted a sort of close to the original. And then from then on, and other people picked up on what St. Francis was doing, and they followed him. And because of his, he had become quite famous by then, his idea spread right across Europe as well. So that's him. And the other one was the Italian literature of the times, because the Italian language at the time was already developed amongst the people. So, and Frederick II in the Sicilian school in Sicily, he had a few people who were encouraged to write in the vulgar language, in the language of the people. Some of the names are Giacomo da Lentini, Giacomo Pugliese, Rinaldo d'Aquino. So they wrote sonnets. They followed the Provençal school, southern France, Provençal way of looking at poetry. And basically that's it. Now it's 7:30, and I've mentioned that these are the things that I'm going to do. And the last thing that I'm going to do, you have to be patient with me tonight. I took quite a bit of footage of the afternoon, and I met some lovely people. There was, as I said, it was an interesting afternoon for me, and I want to share it with you. And I want to thank the people who Angel accompanied me, and also then the people I met there as well. Okay, so here we are, Canto 15 of Inferno. We'll start now. And of course, before I start, I have to have a drink. All right. Canto 15. I'll read the explanations first. Canto 15, ove tratta di quello medesimo girone e di quello medesimo cerchio. So we're talking about circle number 7, girone. E qui sono puniti coloro che fanno forza nella deitade, spregiando natura e sua bontade, siccome sono li sodomiti. So we're talking about the 7th circle of hell and the 3rd girone. Now, let's find out one of the main characters in this particular canto is Brunetto Latini. Who was he? Immortalità nella scrittura. Brunetto Latini era stato il maestro di Dante e gli aveva insegnato come l'uomo guadagni l'eternità attraverso la scrittura. So, if you write something and if you write a good work, you will remain you remain forever, really, because the writing remains. Whereas when we talk, it doesn't. Well, now it does when we put it on. Well, I don't know how it's going to work in the future, whether people will be able to access everything that is being said now. There's so much of it. So, but at the time, Dante was taught that if he wanted to be immortal, in a human sense, you had to do some writing. Pur riconoscendo la limitatezza della gloria, Dante le assegna grande importanza e trova diverse occasioni nel corso della commedia per alimentare la propria fama. So, in the course of his work, Dante is not that humble. He looks after his own fame in a way. So he recognizes that what he was taught by Brunetto Latini, his teacher, about writing and in a humanistic sense, it was glory as humans know it. It's limited because the real glory, according to Dante, when he writes this particular Divina Commedia, is the attachment of our life to eternal life through Christian religion at the time. That's what he wanted to prove. So here, there's one more note about Brunetto Latini. Brunetto Latini was born in 1220, and died in 1294. So he was 74 years old when he died. Guelfo, he was from Guelph party, a bit like, well, a Labour Party, really. Notaio, was a lawyer, and he was a writer. He was un personaggio, he was a character di spicco nella Firenze duecentesca. He was well known in Florence in that particular century, in the 3rd century. Nel duecentesco, 1200 to 1299. So, considerato un grande filosofo, he was considered a philosopher, e un maestro di retorica. He was a teacher of rhetorics. Esercitò una lezione, un'influenza determinante su Dante. So he had a great influence on Dante's future, because Dante was born in 1265. And so by that time, 1220, Brunetto Latini was at the peak of his influence. Attraverso questo episodio, Dante mostra tutto il rispetto e l'ammirazione che nutriva per il suo vecchio maestro e amico. So he considered Brunetto Latini a friend and was his teacher, and he showed a great admiration, and he keeps on admiring him even in this canto, even though he puts him in a place of hell, which is quite rough, you know, with all the fires coming from the sky and these people running around forever, trying to avoid the punishment. Of course, they can't. Brunetto è punito tra I violenti. So, what did he commit? What was Brunetto Latini, such a famous person? What did he commit? He was a violent against nature, Dio, in quanto sodomita, in that he was a homosexual. So l'omosessualità, infatti, was considered contro natura, against nature, dal momento che la procreazione era l'unico fine che giustificava l'atto sessuale. The only justification for the sexual act was the fact that you had to produce children. That's it. You weren't allowed. You weren't allowed to, you know, to have it any other way. Things have changed since then, for the better. Okay, let's start. Now, as you know, when we start a canto, Dante always starts with a description of his where he is at. Now, he's coming from, you remember the place, the previous, he was coming down where he had been in hot sand. You know, the previous punishments were on hot sand. People who had committed sins, they were being punished with by burning. Now, this burning continues here, but the actual environment changes from one of sand to one more of sort of walls, hills, and stones, etc. So here we go. Ora c'importa l'unde duri margini e il fumo del ruscello di sopra adduggia, sì che dal fuoco salva l'acqua e gli argini. So the fire did not go on where they were walking, but just outside of that, like on a footpath, outside of the footpath, you get hit with the fires of hell. Quali fiamminghi traguizzante brucia, temendo il fiotto che inver lor s'avventa, fanno lo schermo perché il mar si fuggia. E quali padoan lungo la Brenta per difender lor ville e lor castelli, anzi che Carentana il caldo senta. A tale immagine erano fatti quelli, tutto che né si alti né si grossi, qual che si fosse lo maestro Felli. So in other words, what happens here, there is Dante refers to I fiamminghi, Flemish, in other words, to the lowlands, the Netherlands. He also talks about Padua. In other words, where he was, it was the protection that he had by walking on that foot alongside the water of I think it's Dite. Still, there's still this ruscello, the waters that are going down to the Acheronte, which we're going to meet later on. Ok, già eravamo dalla selva rimossi, so we had gone down, tanto chi non avrei visto dov'era, perché io indietro rivolto mi fossi. I could have not been able to see behind because, you know, the actual hills, the rocks that were alongside prevented us from seeing behind. Quando incontrammo, so what happened is that we met. Quando incontrammo d'anime una schiera, a whole bunch of souls, che venivano lungo l'argine, they were coming along the outside of our path. E ciascuno ci riguardava come suol da sera guardare un altro sotto nuova luna. And they were surprised, of course. As the image that Dante uses, you know, they looked at us as if it was at night, and you know, and it was dark, but there was a moon there, and they were sort of looking closely to us. E si ver noi aguzzavamo le ciglia come il vecchio sartor fare la cruna, and they were looking like the old tailor, you know, using his needle, looking through the needle. Let's say they were fixed on this too. Così adocchiato da cotal famiglia, fui conosciuto da un che mi prese per lo lembo e gridò, qual meraviglia! So someone from there left them, and the soul recognized Dante. What meraviglia! What surprise! Oh. E io, quando il suo braccio a me distese, ficcai gli occhi per lo cotto aspetto, sì che il viso abbrusciato non difese la conoscenza sua al mio intelletto. So in other words, this soul was burnt. But Dante was able to recognize him anyway. He was all burned all over. You know, it's hit by the fires of hell. E so l'intelletto, that's the intellect, Dante's intellect, said to him, you know, this guy here, you know. E chinando la mano alla sua faccia risposi, and giving him my hand, sort of very, you know, revered the guy. Siete voi qui, Ser Brunetto? Are you here, Ser Brunetto? Great respect in hell, huh? It's not bad at all. E quelli. And he replied, oh figliol mio, non ti dispiaccia se Brunetto Latino un poco teco ritorna indietro e lascia andare la traccia? You won't mind if I leave my troops there, because he's not really allowed, but he's going to leave them for a little while. And he says, if I, you know, have a bit of a chat with you, that's not bad. So Ser Brunetto wants a chat with him. E dissi lui, e so I said to him, quanto posso ven prego, e se volete che con voi massaggia, farò se piace a costui che vo seco. So I said, I don't mind at all, provided my guide will allow it. In other words, Virgilio is there too. Oh figliol mio, oh figliol disse, qual di questa greggia s'arresta, punto, giace poi 100 anni, senza arrostirsi quando il fuoco il feggia. Però va oltre, io ti verrò a panni e poi rigiugnerò la mia masnada che va piangendo i suoi eterni danni. So, oh figliol mio, so this is Brunetto Latini. Says, yes, I will come to you, and then I will rejoin them over there. And, you know, after I've explained what I'm doing here, why I'm here. But Dante knew. Io non osavo scendere per andare per di lui, ma il capo chino teneva come... So Dante, he didn't dare going down. Otherwise he would have been burnt anyway. So he didn't dare. So he but he was revering towards Brunetto, but kept his place. El cominciò, and so Brunetto comes on. Qual fortuna o destino, anzi l'ultimo di qua giù ti mena, e chi è questi che mostra il cammino? Oh, what fortune sends you here? But who is this guy who shows you the way? Là su di sopra in la vita serena, risposi io, lui mi smarrì in una valle avanti che l'età mia fosse piena. So, nel mezzo del cammino di nostra vita, when Dante went down to hell, he lost his way. And so the guide came to help him. He says, from upstairs. So in other words, he's saying, I'm not a sodomite. I've got God's grace on my side, according to him. And Dante's pretty smart. Lassù di sopra in la vita serena, rispose a lui, mi smarrì in una valle avanti che l'età mia fosse piena. Pur ier mattina le volsi le spalle, questi m'apparve, tornando io in quella, e riducemi a ca per questo callo. So this guy here came and he's taken me down the path of hell to show me the way. Ed egli a me, and so this is Brunetto Latini replies, se tu segui tua stella, non puoi fallire a glorioso porto se ben m'accorsi nella vita bella. Ah, beautiful. He was his teacher, and Dante was a prized student. He says, se tu segui la tua stella, I remember my primary school teacher, he had a soft spot for me. So if I see Maestro Vicino up there, it'll be the same as this guy here. Non puoi fallire, you're going to find glory. But the glory that he's talking about is the glory, it's a human glory. And without God's glory, in other words, without following, you can't go to paradise. This is what this particular Commedia is all about. It's the journey towards purification of the soul, basically. And if you don't do it, you go to hell. If you half do it, you go to purgatory. And when you end up in paradise. E se io non fossi sì per tempo morto, veggendo il cielo a te così benigno, dato t'avrei all'opera conforto. Ma quello ingrato popolo maligno che discese di Fiesole ab antico e tiene ancora del monte e del macigno. So, he says, if I wasn't dead, etc., veggendo a te così benigno, seeing, that you were going to find some glory. And then he says, but it tells Dante, you're living amongst people who are not very nice, because Florence was, if you remember, was created from Fiesole. Florence, the original inhabitants, they went there, and they had, of course, the old Mass as their patron saint, which then changed over time when the Christians arrived. So that's why they're always fighting in Florence, because, the gods are not happy. Ok. Ma quello ingrato popolo maligno, di Florence, che discese di Fiesole ab antico e tiene ancora del monte e del macigno, ti si farà per tuo ben far nemico. They'll be your enemy. Ed hai ragione che tra i lazzi sorbi si disconvien fruttare al dolce fico. You're like a fig amongst very sour plants, fruit. So you're a very special person, but you're not in the right place, Dante. Vecchia fama nel mondo li chiami orbi. Gente avara, invidiosa e superba. That's the Florentines. Avara, greedy, envious and arrogant. Dai loro costumi fa che tu ti forbi. Stay away from them. Facciano le bestie, la tua fortuna tanto onor si serba che l'una parte e l'altra avran fame di te, ma lungi fia dal becco l'erba. So he says, you'll have fortune, and both sides, both inside Florence and outside, they will eventually recognize you. But, facciano le bestie fiesolane strame di lor medesime, non tocchino la pianta, s'alcun surge ancora in lor letame, in cui rivive la semente santa di quel Roma che vi rimase quando fu fatto il nido di malizia tanto. So, he's saying, you know, again, the reference to Fiesole being the originators of Florence. He says, non tocchi la pianta, let all these bad people don't touch you, don't affect you, because amongst all this letame, shit, right, basically, amongst all this, you are special, and any special person has to be lifted up from there. In cui rivive la semente santa di quel Roma, la semente santa, che vi rimase quando fu fatto il nido di malizia tanto. So, again, Dante needs a bit of reading, and also the notes. I don't have all the notes here, and I'm only presenting it really. So please forgive if I miss something. Well, it's because I'm encouraging you to read the actual script yourself. Use my presentations as a start. Don't remain there. Just correct me all along and find out for yourself exactly what it means, what the whole thing means, and go into the Florence history of the times. Very interesting. Ok. Se fosse tutto pieno il mio dimando, risposi io lui, voi non sareste ancora dell'umana natura posto in bando, che è la mente m'è fitta e orma ancora la cara e buona immagine paterna di voi quando nel mondo ad ora mi insegnavate come l'uom s'etterna, e quando io l'abbia in grado mentre io vivo, convien che nella mia lingua si scerna. So Dante now says, Makora, your situation, whatever you're telling me now, I really respect. Dell'umana tu posto in bando, che nella mente mi è fitta e Makora. So I take it, whatever you say, like il mio maestro, you still mi insegnavate, you were teaching me. But why did he put him in hell? That's the question. How is he going to answer his teachers? It's, you taught me, yes, but what did you do wrong yourself in order for you to be in here? Ciò che narrate il mio corso scrivo, e serbolo a chiosar con altro testo, a donna che saprà, sa lei arriva. So he says, I've taken your advice, I am writing, but my writing, or whatever I say here, will go to someone else upstairs, Beatrice. She's a saint. She's in paradise. So he says, I have a way out here. But, of course, Brunetto Latini cannot understand it. He can't see it. So, tanto voglio io che vi sia manifesto, purché mia coscienza non mi garra, che la fortuna come vuol son presto. Non è nuova agli orecchi miei talarra, però giri fortuna la sua rota, come le piace il villan la sua marra. So he makes a reference to people who work the land. And, when you work the land, you need fortune on your side. And he says, well, let it be. Let fortune decide. That's the answer. But the answer is a theological one in a way, because he says, he knows, Dante knows that in order for him to get out, not to follow, not to end up where his teacher ended up, he has to follow a different path. He has to move on. And isn't that what fathers and teachers do? They want their children and their I always want my students to be better than me. Honestly, that's the way it is. The next generation has to be better than the previous one. That's our wish. Will they succeed? I don't know. That's fortuna, depends. Lo mio maestro allora sulla gota destra si volse indietro e riguardammo, poi disse: bene ascolta chi la nota. So listen well to, take note. That's it. Né pertanto di men parlando vommi con Ser Brunetto e dimando chi sono i suoi compagni più noti e più sommi. So he says, okay, give me a bit of time. I want to ask, who are these other people who are in your, who are in your schiera, who are with you, your group of souls? Who are these people? Ed egli a me. Saper d'alcune è buono. Knowing a few of them is good. Degli altri fia laudabile tacerci. It's better to listen, not to tell, on the others, che il tempo saria corto a tanto suono. In other words, for me to tell you all about this, you need a hell of a lot of time, and you haven't got time, and neither do I, because I've got to follow them. Insomma, sappi che tutti furcherci e litterati grandi e di gran fama d'un peccato modesimo e il mandolerci. Know that they were all priests and litterati, grandi litterati. In other words, they were very famous people here. E di gran fama, and very well known. All sodomites. D'un peccato modesimo al mondo. So they sinned in that way. Priscianza in va quella turba grama, e Francesco d'accorso anche, e vedervi s'avessi avuto di tal tigna brama, colui potei che dal servo dei servi fu trasmutato d'arno in bacchiglione, dove lasciò li mal protesi nervi. Ok, just a few notes and then time is moving on. La fortuna fa il suo giro mentre il contadino gira la vanca. Dante accoglie la profezia di Brunetto disponendosi ad accettare i rivolgimenti della fortuna. So he says, questi rivolgimenti infatti sono naturali, come è naturale che un contadino usi la sua vanca secondo il ritmo dei lavori stagionali. So this was the explanation that I gave before about Brunetto Latini, and his prophecy says, well, will fortune be on your side? So as long as you do your work, then once you've done the right thing, then it's up to fortune to help you or not, depending on the situation. Brunetto corre a raggiungere il suo gruppo. Now Brunetto has to leave because he's not allowed to go from his group to another group. The sodomites in hell are in their particular teams of people, of souls. They're not allowed to move from one to the other. I sodomiti devono attenersi a due regole, the two rules in hell. Non devono mai smettere di muoversi, they cannot stop, they have to keep on moving, e non devono mai mescolarsi con i sodomiti di un gruppo diverso dal proprio. And they cannot mix with the sodomites that have the same, that they are different from their own. Di conseguenza, all'avvicinarsi di un nuovo gruppo, when the new group arrives, Brunetto corre a raggiungere la schiera di cui si è distaccato, so Brunetto turns around and goes. Nel testo è paragonato al vincitore di un palio annuale che gli uomini correvano completamente nudi nella prima domenica di Quaresima. I think la corsa tradizionale nel XIII secolo aveva come premio un drappo verde. This is something that I used to do. Men totally in the nude used to run and they would get a green piece like una bandiera. You got to look it up. Okay. So he mentioned a couple of names which you can look up eventually, and that's it. And then Brunetto Latini has to go. Di più direi, ma il venire è il sermone più lungo essere non può, però chi veggio là surge nuovo fumo del sabbione. In other words, I have to go, my dear boy. Gente che viene con la quale essere non deggio, that's what Brunetto Latini says, sì, ti raccomando il mio tesoro. I recommend you what I wrote when I was, because Brunetto Latini is famous for what he wrote. His name is Il mio tesoro, he calls it. In Latino was another name, etc. Nel quale io vivo ancora. If you write a good piece, for example, I'm very proud of my Le Avventure di Curiosin, but it's only book one that I've written. But that can remain. Even ago, that can remain forever. If you write something special, it can remain. People have recognized it, and we're doing that with Dante's work. Poi si rivolse e parve di coloro che corrono a Verona il drappo verde per la campagna e parve di costoro quelli che vince, non colui che perde. And this race is in Verona. So it says, parve. This is what happens here. So, Canto 15 is about sodomites, but it's about Brunetto Latini particularly, and all those chierici, letterati, famous people who practice some homosexuality according to the laws of the land and a lot of the scriptures in all religions. But, you know, we've moved on the last 10, 20 years to recognise gay rights. That's it. Now, where does religion stand in here? They still have the same attitude. It's going to take a long time, if ever, because Holy Scriptures, what do you do? What do you do? So, you know, history is a great teacher for good and bad. And Dante, with this work here, is quite good. Now, I've looked at the other the other canti that follow. Very interesting stuff. It's, you know, it's really worthwhile to get yourself una Divina Commedia, both in Italian and in English if you can get it. I've got Purgatorio and Paradiso. I've got a few copies. I don't know. You know, I haven't received any requests. But as I said, you know, you can get this in libraries. They should have some copies in libraries. You should have it at home if you're of an Italian background, or if you're not, it doesn't matter. It's like having Shakespeare at home. Good. Now, I've come to, it's 8:01. So I finished with Dante and Canto 16. Next time, don't forget, next Sunday, I will not be on at this time. I will be on at 11:25 a.m. in the morning till 12:30. Because, you know, I need to go out, you know, in the evenings. And I mentioned, I saw Fred Martin is watching. Well, I'm actually changing the time, Fred, because of you. Because of Fogra Furlan. That's the reason. That's one of the reasons. So I'm telling you straight. So back up Dante, Fred. Okay, that's that. Now I'm going to read you a couple of my poems, but I just want to mention literature. I have to go. I've got to look up my computer now, as usual. I always get to this stage where I have to go back to that. Let me see. Okay, be patient. Let's see if I can get it straight away. Oh no, again. We'll try again. Okay. 1, 2. Yes, here we are. Okay, I'm going to start. There's my poems called Dono di Dentro and Il Bilancio del Dare, and I'm not going to start with that. I'm going to mention, again, the Italian literature, basically in Italian, starts around the year 1000. But since the Roman times, Latin was the official language, but the vulgus, the people, developed a language away from Latin. And eventually, people start to write sonnets and poetry in the vulgar language. And from that, then Dante comes along later on in 1300. But the development of the Italian language had been going on for a couple hundred years. So nothing is ever done on the spot. Everything moves very, very slowly. And the people who were involved in this were Giacomo D'Alentini, Giacomino Pugliese, Rinaldo d'Aquino. There were also other people that were involved. And after Dante, just before Dante, was Guido Cavalcanti, and we met him in hell, I think, as well, or in purgatory, I'm not sure. I haven't met him yet. Dante arrived, and then there was Francesco Petrarca, and then there was Boccaccio, and the Italian language became stronger and stronger. But still, it officially, they were using Latin in Italian courts up to 200 years ago. So Italian, has been a developing language, and it is a constructed language. The language of the people, what we call local dialects, the actual languages. So when we call them dialects, it's like a put down. So remember that. So you can study the language with this development. And what I've done is I've gone back to year 1000 to 200. You can look it up, and then you can do 1 century at a time. And that's where I'm going. Now, it's Christmas. San Francesco d'Assisi in 1223. In the town of Greccio, in Italy, near Perugia, Assisi. He sort of was renowned for, wanted to follow Christ's example, humility, because there were problems with his father. Basically, his father, he didn't like what he was doing. He thought that he was putting the family down. And so St. Francis, Giovanni di Pietro di Bernardone left him, and there are stories about it, and it's very interesting to read up on San Francesco d'Assisi. Very interesting. So in 1223, that was the first live presepio, live nativity scene. And thanks to Virgilio here in Melbourne, we've had it for a few years, but not this year. It'll come back. Now, I went to dance today, and I'm going to show you. I met 3 people initially. I went with here. Okay. I went with Angela here. There we are. And I said, when we go to Solarino Social Club, we're going to see Santa Gervasi. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
It has been a long time, and also Tony Pantani will be singing there.
Oh, well, that's all right. Yeah. They're advertising for Tony Pantani, right?
That's right, yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's very good. Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Now, this is Santa Gervasi. He's very well known in Melbourne for Gervasi, he had his shops there in Sydney Road for a long time, but he's also the president of Solarino Social Club, and he has quite a following. And I'm very happy to, I've been trying to promote Italian, whatever goes on in the clubs for a while, a couple of years now. I started, I think, 2018, late 2018, because I hadn't been to Italian clubs before that. We were in the shops, and so since then I've been filming the actual bands and trying to do a few interviews, and here's one of them with Santa. Okay, there we are. Santo, auguroni per oggi e che veramente siamo in buona fine e poi un bel buon 2022, ok? Adesso vuoi dire qualcosa?
Io ti ringrazio per la tua generosità e ti ringrazio per essere qua, perché sei uno che fai
Un po' da fare.
un po' da fare. E ti ringrazio e auguro a tutte quante queste persone che sono qua, che da tempo non possiamo incontrarci, che oggi possiamo divertirci, possiamo ricordare questa giornata come nel passato.
Esattamente, e qua la sala è quasi piena, quindi
La sala è quasi piena, tutta la gente hanno un'atmosfera veramente
È magnifica l'atmosfera. Ok.
Sicuramente la giornata che non sappiamo in armonia.
Sì. Buon Natale a te e a tutti.
Grazie altrettanto.
Now that was the first person. Now I got to another one here. Of course, the way we do it in clubs is that people collect. We collect, the tables. It's all done nicely. They collect the money, and it goes to the club, and everyone, can give whatever. So it's fantastic that this is so. And this gentleman here is actually a very, a very important guy, in the sense that he has. Well, let me see if there's another one. Oh, here we are. Yes, let the interview speak for itself. His name is Ubaldo Agliano. Here we are. Ubaldo Agliano, congratulazioni per la tua presidenza del Commites. Che fortuna per Tom Padula incontrarti.
Grazie Tony, veramente l'onore è mio perché ti conoscevo di nome e la tua fama ti precede, quindi averti accanto oggi sarebbe per me un grande onore, lo è, e quindi può essere il primo passo per una collaborazione futura.
Speriamo, perché hai detto fame, no? Qui c'è fame oggi.
No, anche quella sarà soddisfatta.
Sicuramente. Allora continueremo il nostro colloquio.
Assolutamente sì, certo.
Tanto auguri per Natale, per il tuo tempo lì al Comites, e speriamo che sia veramente di grande valore per tutti nella comunità italiana, qui nel Vittoria, nell'Australia e per il mondo come esempio agli altri.
Grazie, auguri agli italiani in Australia.
And I have to say something in English because otherwise it's not time for dollar anymore. I love to speak in English. L'italiano mi piace, but when I go to Italy I have to speak in English because I don't feel well unless I speak the language as well. So, congratulations to Ubaldo Agliano. He's the president of Commites here in Victoria, just been elected, and we wish him the very best. Okay, auguri.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, see, the Italian club's role, the role of Italian clubs is also, it's a social thing, and it's very important that, that people understand the dual nature of what we do, who we are here in Melbourne, our identity. Because a lot of people now, Ubaldo Agliano was a lawyer in Italy. He came here 10 years ago. It's what he told me, and they said he settled here. Well, but he's a lawyer, and coming late, he's an Italian lawyer, so he represents the Commites. He's the president of Commites, too rightly, because he knows the institutional workings in Italy, and therefore very important for us to have a good representation in Italy. But he also then needs and the people around him have to provide this, the knowledge of the not even the difficulties, because we need to, as Italo-Australians, we cannot be Italians anymore, like in Italy. We can know a lot about it, but our identity, people's identity, people were born here, second, third generation, and others who follow, they will identify locally. Now, this is a big job, but like teaching a language, you can't deliver it straight away. It's impossible. You need to really understand the limitations of this work and be satisfied with what is being done. Now, the next one that I want to show you is the other aspect of Italian culture in a club. And this is Christmas. Therefore, the next lot of things here, this is what happens this afternoon. There we are. Here we are. This is Tony Pantano there. He came to do a floor show. Now I've got small clips. I didn't take much. See, here we are.
Merry Christmas, everybody. You can sit down now. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show.
There we are. And this was the other, another frozen one here. Interesting. I didn't catch most of it, but this was it. So it puts on quite a show, Tony Pantano. So there is again. I won't do this one. I'll do the next one. Here we are. I can see the showmanship of Tony Pantano. His father Filippo came here in 1956. So the Pantano families have been entertained in Melbourne for the last 65 years. Amazing, isn't it? So let's go a bit more to Tony because let's have a look. There we are. Marvellous. And this is Father Christmas now.
the gigolo, that's the gigolo, that's the gigolo ride. Oh yeah, Santa Claus is getting all these beautiful presents. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. You lost a little bit of license last year. How about you? You say that the dad is watching live. This is live today. Live. What?
Well, was towards the end. You notice the importance of family life there. A lot of people, some of them with younger families, but not many. A lot of their couples, basically, third age people. But there are some younger ones too, and the clubs themselves can be renewed. The renewal can occur. It's a question of bringing the culture, the language, the culture. It's what we were talking about with Ubaldo Aliano from Commedia, is that the need to understand the development of identity for people who live in another country. It's a difficult one, but we can do it. We can do it. I'm sure of it. We can. So here we go again, just a little bit more. That gives you an idea of the type of people that are there, including the younger ones. So it's possible to renew family life in these clubs. It's a lot of fun, really. And I think it's only another one, and that's it. After this. And of course, I caught Tony right on the way out.
We're all friends. Here we go, we're still trying.
Well, you can see that there's a lot of fun there that can be created in a club. Slorina does a very good job of it. It's Christmas, and Merry Christmas to everyone. It's just wonderful to be able to to be able to share these moments because for 2 years now, there's been very little activity. Therefore, today was a very special day, and I'm glad. And I'm just going to show you a few more things because, just a few more people that I met, and that's it. That's basically what happened. Was that, of course, the Ubaldo said a couple of words there. We keep going. A coffee, this Antonio Danzi. I had a bit of it's from my same page as mine. And these are a picture of the three of us there. Yeah. Santo. Well, basically that's it. Basically, that was the afternoon. Now, I realise it can be done better than this, but I just wanted to show you the work of Italian clubs in Melbourne. Italian culture is important because it really has a great basis for community and family life. But the big job is to retain the language, to retain. I know that at Fogola Furlan they want to do the Furlan. Yes, the local languages for sure, but Italian language as well, English. Now I have my Italian lessons on Tuesdays at 11:25 to 12:30, and the lessons then remain on my Facebook page. They also go to insegna.com and also in my TomPadulablogspot.com. These lessons here, they can appear boring because it's an hour of someone talking. To make a point takes a long time. And if you want to learn something, you have to go back to it. You can do 10 minutes at a time. You don't have to sit the whole hour and too much. But learning the language takes time. If you stay on it, you'll get there. People can learn it very fluently, and they can improve their English along the way as well. So there's nothing wrong with being involved with Italian culture and language, except that a lot of people who were born here, some are interested, some are not, depending on the jobs that they have, what they do, the interest that they... I don't know what the answer is. You can only encourage. At the end of the day, you cannot make people do things that they don't want to do. You can provide the example. And I think it's the same in Italy. People learning English, people learning French. When you're dealing with second languages, if you don't speak them at home, you don't live in the community. I'm a teacher of French. I've never lived in France. I've been to Paris 3 times, 3 days at a time. That's it. In all my life, I've never had much to do. Yet I know the grammar, I can read it, the history, etc., but it's not part of my life every single day. Language is there. You have to use it or you lose it. La pratica batte la grammatica, ma senza la grammatica non puoi migliorare o perfezionare la lingua che vuoi imparare. So on Tuesdays, I actually go through the grammar slowly. I've finished lesson 9. I'm up to the verbs now. There are 9 parts of speech. So I urge people to share my lessons. They are free lessons. And if you actually go to them, you will be able to know Italian pretty well, pretty soon. Okay, so my time is up. I would like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. But of course, I'll come back on Tuesday and Thursday. Next Sunday will be the day after Christmas. And I'll be here at 11:25 to 12:30. So my time has changed. Please let people know. Well, it's one of those things that needs to be done. Ok, buonanotte a tutti, ciao, arrivederci, alla prossima. TomPadulaTV on YouTube and Insegna Booksellers. If you need anything at all, call me. I'm available. It's not a problem at all. Ok? Ciao, alla prossima.